Hey there, everyone. My name is Ari, and I'm the host of Made of Metal, a motivational podcast where we tell stories about regular people overcoming insurmountable odds. We have some really good episodes on Bob Marley, Tina Turner, John Coltrane, John Muir, who's my new favorite obsession. So check us out. Oh, I also wanted to give a quick reminder about our gratitude giveaway. So, our gratitude giveaway for this month, we'll be giving away a pair of AirPods. So, you can enter in the link in the description of this video. And I've also included a link in my bio on Instagram and Facebook. You can also enter on my website, madeofmetalpodcast.com. So, best of luck to you. Really excited. So, best of luck. So this week, I wanted to discuss being present, living in the present moment, and being mindful. So being present means that we live in the current moment, which sounds very counterintuitive. Aren't we always living in the current moment? You would think so, but unconsciously, we may be bringing ourselves back to the past, or we may be bringing ourselves a little bit forward into a future that hasn't happened yet. So, to talk a little more about going into the past, specifically, this is in regards to how we may ruminate on a past event that caused us distress, anxiety, pain, any sort of strong negative response. Now, we may not intentionally try to bring these feelings and try to bring this event and the energy surrounding it into our present moment, but when we are thinking back to this event, so for example, you think, oh, that should have never happened to me. I can't believe I had to experience that. That was so unfair. That was so wrong. When you are doing that, you think that you're not really deep diving into the feelings that were generated in that moment. But once you start to really think on it and your thoughts become more focused on that event, you can feel the feelings coming back. You can feel that sense of, that sense of betrayal, that sense of hopelessness, that sense of fear. All of that will, again, it may be a bit muted. And when I say that, I mean it's not as intense as when you actually experienced it, of course. But you are bringing those feelings back. So you're reliving that moment. You're bringing yourself back to that moment instead of living in the present moment where that event has passed and you are able to look back on it objectively. We do this a lot of the times without the we do this a lot of the times without the knowledge that we are doing something to bring these feelings back, because all you're doing is thinking back to a memory. But if this memory wasn't good and it made that much of an impact on you, you will have those feelings come to the surface again. And you want to avoid that. You are not living in that moment. You need to understand that though, yes, this was a terrible thing, this was a horrible thing, you can think back on it in a more constructive and productive way. You can change the narrative. You don't have to focus on those negative feelings that you generate in that moment. You can focus on the positives, like, wow, I experienced that event, and look at where I am now. Look at all the progress I have made up until this point. I am so proud of myself. It's an incredible journey. And when you do that, you kind of change those feelings. So instead of feeling helpless, instead of feeling, oh my gosh, this thing happened to me, you say, okay, this thing happened to me, and here I am. And then for the future. So the future is worry. The future is you're trying to control it, essentially. When we live in the future, we're looking at I we're looking at events that have not even happened, that haven't even transpired. We're worrying about things that likely will not happen, but our brains are turning it into a oh no, this is going to happen, and we need to plan, we need to prepare, we need to worry, we need to wring our hands, we need to do everything. In particular, for me, I would say that I used to, before I did a lot of healing, a lot of therapy, I used to really ruminate on the past a lot. But after doing my healing and everything, I realized that I was shifting that just from the past to the future. So instead of me thinking back to, those past traumatic events, I'm thinking to the future and getting worried um, because I can't control it. It might be different for a lot of people in terms of your why, as to why you're worrying about the future. But it all kind of comes down to you want a certain thing to happen, and you're just not quite sure if that's going to happen. You're just like, oh my goodness, I'm living in this moment, so I can't know what's going to happen, and that is just as bad. You cannot kind of break out of that cycle until you learn how to live in the present moment. And living in the present means being actually consciously and purposely vibrating high, having a positive mindset, um, building resilience in terms of your thinking. Okay, I'm worried about this thing in the future, but worst case scenario, I'll be able to weather it. I've gotten this far. So worrying about what's going to happen is kind of, not really doing me any favors. And I mean that physically, you're not doing yourself any favors. While you're worrying about it, you're likely losing sleep. You're likely feeling a sense of dread or this burden. You're doing all that for no reason because it may not even happen. There's a really, really great acronym that I like to refer to whenever I'm feeling anxious about the future, and that is fear. The word fear, FEAR, false expectations appearing real. Because they seem like, okay, this horrible thing is definitely going to happen, so I need to prepare for it. But it hasn't, though. I mean, when you really think about it logically, you have no idea what's going to happen unless you're Miss Cleo. In which case, I'm still a little skeptical that you do know what's going to happen. So there's no purpose in sort of living in these moments that may or may not even transpire. Living in the present and acknowledging what you do know, what tools you do have, and who you are right now, as opposed to who you think you'll be or who you were, you will feel so much more confident and prepared for anything that may come your way. In the case of looking towards your future with hope, with optimism, with a plan for the future, that is the way to go. But again, don't obsess over it. So all the balance is in not obsessing over it. It's saying I will do what I can do now, and what I do now will help dictate what will happen in the future. So I should be confident and take a lot of intention in what I do now so that I can create a positive result in the future. So as you can see, I got really worked up about this topic because it's something that really hits home for me because I am a worrier. And like I said, I had shifted from worrying about the past to worrying about the future. But now I can honestly say that living in the moment it just frees so much anxiety. It just frees so much thought process as well. So instead of me worrying about all the bad things that can happen, I think about all the good things that can happen. So it really is a change of mindset. It's just changing the way that your thoughts and changing the patterns of thinking that we've kind of fallen into habitually. But we are going to together, me and you together, are going to work through those. So thank you so much for joining me on this week's Struggle of the Week. I so appreciate you connecting with me here. And I can't wait to see you guys next week. Thank you so much, and bloom where you're planted.